What's up, everyone? I want to get right to the point, as right now, I want to briefly talk about one big movie I haven't made a video on yet. And that movie is one I think you have all seen by now, which is Superman! Yeah, as a diehard DC fan, this was something I was super looking forward to. And I give James Gunn so much respect and love for giving The Man of Steel a movie he deserves. 9 out of 10. Definitely go see it. Oh, you were probably expecting more than just that, weren't you? Well, I do have a lot more to say about Superman, being someone who has done DC videos in the past, and consider myself a huge fan. However, I just had a more interesting idea for a video when talking about Superman's newest adventure, and it's going to include a bit more love for good old James Gunn. Not just with his universe, but with his movies in general. So, stay tuned for that when it comes out. But I figure I at least make a review of another movie out right now. Let's see. What else is out right now? Oh yeah! There's a brand new movie from the rival company of DC I can talk about, with the newest addition to the MCU, Fantastic Four: The First Steps. The Fantastic Four are certainly an interesting group of heroes, as they kinda had the worst of luck with movies. As whenever there comes a movie about these characters, let's be real, they always turned out bad. It makes me kinda bummed because they are a team of superheroes that are very important and iconic to the world of not just Marvel, but comic books in general. So why couldn't they have a decent movie be made about them? Well, if there's anyone that could properly do the Fantastic Four justice, it's probably the studio that made the cinematic universe that people want these characters to be a part of, which is Marvel Studios. Long overdue, but we're finally getting a film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe featuring the likes of Mr. Fantastic, the Human Torch, the Invisible Woman, and last but not least, The Thing.
Daddy needs to get his rocks off!
Granted, I feel like in recent memory, my interest in Marvel has diminished quite a bit. Not to say I disliked everything that came out post-Endgame. In fact, Thunderbolts was pretty decent. But outside of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, there hadn't been a Marvel movie I was super interested in seeing due to feeling burnt out with oversaturation of their films, and some of them being, well, kinda not that good. Yet Fantastic Four was the first time in a while I was genuinely interested in a Marvel movie due to how this movie was looking to be something a little different for the MCU, and just the simple desire of wanting to see a good Fantastic Four movie. Well, upon further review, I can safely say after watching this, it may have took them 20 years and 4 attempts, technically 30 and 5 if you want to count the unreleased Roger Corman movie, but we finally got a good movie about the Fantastic Four. Rather than being a straight-up origin story of these characters, we get a Marvel movie in a very interesting setting of an alternate futuristic version of the 60s, where the famous 4 heroes have to stop a new threat in the form of Galactus, who thankfully isn't just a puff of smoke in this. In a movie that managed to be a very good time from beginning to end, as this does have a unique look and feel compared to other Marvel movies. Its plot is ultimately fairly straightforward and kinda typical affairs when it comes to superhero movies, but it more than makes up for it by having it be a very well done blockbuster in terms of spectacle, and having its cast be great. As far as Marvel movies go, this is probably one of their best looking movies in recent memory. They actually did a great job with a lot of the visual effects and production design here. The futuristic 60s aesthetic is very creative for these characters that thrive big time in the time period. And when it gets to its action set pieces, it's actually pretty exciting to watch. There's a lot of really great looking sequences with the Silver Surfer and Galactus that make this movie feel very unapologetic when it comes to being a comic book adaptation that embraces its comic book origins. It's like seeing a comic book movie come to life as a big, gigantic, epic movie that is so good visually that it's actually the first Marvel movie in quite some time that I recommend seeing in IMAX for. I think longtime Marvel fans will really appreciate a lot of the callbacks and style this movie has to offer. So much that watching this, out of all the Marvel movies that have come out since Endgame, this is the one I actually wish we got a Stan Lee cameo. Would have been perfect to see him here. Though more so than the visuals, I think the cast and rendition of the Fantastic Four is very likable and carries this movie big time. Even if you don't get a full origins, the movie fills you in on these characters just enough to where you get the gist of what their story is all about. It's really the dynamic between all of these actors like Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Yvonne Moss-Bachrach that sells this team of heroes, as they all work great off one another, feeling like an actual family. It's something that the Fantastic Four was always known for big time, as they're not just a ragtag team of scientists with superpowers, they're a legitimate family that cares for one another. You get a good amount of character moments between them, with stuff like Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm having a bit of a playful rivalry, and Reed Richards and Sue Storm preparing for parenthood, and how they deal with that whole journey. More than any other Fantastic Four movie, you get a good sense of what these characters are actually about. And if anything, I'm kinda interested in seeing what they might have for the future of these characters, and how much developed they'll get in a later Marvel movie. If there is one gripe I do have with these characters, is that as far as action goes, they could have gone a little further with how they show off their powers. Particularly Reed Richards and Sue Storm, who don't get nearly as much time to showcase their powers compared to Ben and Johnny. It feels a little disappointing in the sense I would have liked to see more cool action sequences where their powers shine through, and it's done in very creative ways. I mean, I get stretchy powers can look weird, especially with the advent of CGI, but with this movie, at least it looks better compared to anything prior to this. At least I can take solace in the fact that we did get some more in-depth character writing of this team, which more than makes up for them not utilizing their powers as much as they could have. It's one of those faults that isn't necessarily the worst to have, as it does leave you wanting more, but I can say this is the kind of movie that I like seeing Marvel do, and despite how much I haven't been as interested in their work, they somehow pull me back into being a bit interested. But when it's a really fun superhero movie, I say it's worth it. I'm glad we're in a time that both Marvel and DC can bring out a really good superhero movie, and Fantastic Four definitely delivers. It looks great, has a good cast of characters, and not to mention has a pretty damn good score by Michael Giacchino too. To the point where if there's any Marvel movie I recommend seeing from this year, it is for sure this one. It might not be quite as fantastic as Superman in my opinion, but I think the fact we got a movie about these characters that actually does respect them is a fantastic enough reason to check this movie out, so take that for what it's worth. So I'm going to give Fantastic Four: The First Steps an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. Those were my thoughts on Fantastic Four. What did you guys think about it if you happen to see it? Comment below, let me know what your guys' thoughts on. Hit that red subscribe button and bell icon for future video updates, as I still got a lot planned with that James Gunn video coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you guys again in the near future. Later!
Fantastic Three, Fantastic Four.
Am I crazy, or is this good?